Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
Hello and welcome back, Forgers, to episode 15 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I am your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and also ASU alumni. I am also here with the co-host of the show, the astonishing Kristen Ashton. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Jeff. How are you today?
Very good. I'm doing great. My alma mater, ASU, won Heroes of the Dorm.
And they won it undefeated. It was I didn't even think they had competition that whole time.
No, they were killing it. They were rocking, and it was just so fun to watch. It was pretty much a stomp in the end. I mean, I didn't have the pleasure of going to the actual tournament, though, like you did. So tell us about it. How was the tournament?
The tournament was by far one of the best and tightest Heroes of the Storm events I'd ever been to. And especially because ESPN came in, they really got everything together. Drafts didn't take 30 minutes. Drafts took
good.
5 to 10 minutes tops, because while the hosts went over some information, rundowns of players and what we should be expecting from the maps, the teams did the draft. So by the time it was time to go back to the stage, they quickly went through the heroes and we immediately got into the game.
Oh, I love that, because sometimes when I'm watching these, these tournaments on Twitch, the drafts take forever.
They really do. And let's not forget BlizzCon, too. I mean, after, of course, that 4 or 5 hour long wait everyone had to sit through, the drafts themselves, oh, boy.
I know. And I still can't believe that they don't actually have like a native drafting, because they still use a third-party drafting software, right, to get the drafting done?
I believe so. I'm not sure if they've actually purchased the rights or not, but last I heard, they were still using a third party.
Yeah, because that's just crazy to me. That's just as crazy in my mind as if, our game didn't have bans before a week ago. Like, what are you talking about? This is the same game? So, yeah, that's crazy. If they don't buy that, I'm sure they're going to implement something, because they're taking it very seriously. You can obviously tell that by the production quality of it. Tell me about it. Were there tons of pumped, amped people there?
There were tons of people, and it was great because it was standing room only. So we, of course, saw people standing in the aisles. We were lucky enough to snag some seats on the risers toward the back. And in the back, they had more TVs. So everyone else who was standing could come through. There was a little beer garden going, and there was a professional crowd exciter there, basically, who was chucking stuff, free gifts into the audience, who basically got the various parts of the audience hyped based on what camera was focused on them. And I was super excited because the last day of the event, I was seated in a spot right behind Artosis. So whenever the camera would cut to him, just him, I was the girl that would jump up and start banging my sticks together. And then the first interview they did with the Udall family that day, if you look behind, between Udall's mom and his dad's head, straight back, there's a girl who's rhythmically jumping up and down, banging her sticks. That's this girl, and it was a cardio workout, I'll tell you.
Oh, I believe it. You're somewhat of a legend when it comes to these Heroes events. I mean, you had the whole thing at BlizzCon where you were on Reddit. I mean, I was there, so I was lucky enough to experience the energy of that. So I do not blame you, because that is too cool.
It was amazing. But you also had a bar event. They actually let you put it on a TV in a bar.
I know. I couldn't believe it. I went with my buddy Ben from college, who's also an ASU alumni. So and he's a huge gamer too. We went to BlizzCon together. He's awesome. And we went to this bar figuring, it was a long shot. I had sent a few emails to this bar asking if they were going to be able to put it on. I had, tried to call them and talk to them, and they didn't really understand what I was saying or what I was asking. So it just boiled down to, do you have ESPN2? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, I'll be there. And the bar setting, it was also the Masters golf tournament this weekend. Yeah. And so a lot of people were at the bar. It was a Sunday, and they were watching the Masters. And so we got to watch that with everyone that was there, which was really cool. And then when Heroes came on, we had him change it to ESPN2, and people were asking us questions. We had a guy over on the side, and he was like, "What is this? Are they playing for money?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, they're playing for college scholarships, all this stuff." And other people were actually watching and enjoying it. And of course, we were going crazy when things were happening. You know, they had takedowns and stuff, and it was such a cool atmosphere, and it gave me hope because really, no one gave us crap for watching it. Nobody, you know, not even the bartenders at any point in time had said anything to us like, we got to take this off. Like, what is this video game stuff? And none of that happened. It was so cool. And one of the coolest parts, because we had asked them to put it on a little TV that was behind the bar, so we were watching it on that. At one point, I turned over my right shoulder and it's on the big screen.
Oh, no
like, it's
way.
on this big screen at the bar, and it was just really, really cool.
Okay, so I have a question though too. Aside from this Cinderella moment, basically turning around and there it is. Now, the biggest complaint that has come out of this tournament has been the simplification of the game. The new map that was introduced, you didn't know who was who running around. You couldn't see merc camps. You didn't know when anything was pushing. Along with the fact they didn't show talent picks or anything like that. And even some of the camera work basically neglected to show some ganks and fights that broke out. So the people you were with in the bar, this broadcast basically was for those people mostly to get, you know, more people into the game. How did they take it? Did they understand it well? Did they still get hyped?
You know, I think they were hyped because we were hyped, but it would be a lie if I said I didn't miss those things, especially the talent picks. I mean, when we start really delving into Heroes of the Storm and you start really understanding the game, you know, a level 1 talent pick can be a huge deal for some of those heroes. And it can the game can play completely differently depending on what they pick. I mean, you take Karazim, for example. I mean, that's a huge talent pick that you're picking at the beginning, basically dictating the rest of your entire game. So I really, really missed that because I thought the old system did that really well. But to answer your question, no, I don't think anybody really missed it other than the Heroes fans. It did have a really legitimate sports look to it. You know, it had that definite ESPN look to the bottom scroller. It didn't look like an esports tournament in that regard. It looked like a sporting event, which I think maybe, what do you think? That was their plan, to try to get something like that to get people more interested in it?
Oh, absolutely, because they have to bridge this gap, and they're working their hardest, because I think people in the industry clearly recognize there's money to be made in esports. Otherwise, it wouldn't still be flourishing and growing. However, they're not quite sure how to make it more accessible to people who don't do video games. Because, you know, people who play video games, we're going to eat it up regardless of what it looks like, as a lot of the older esports competitions have proven. But yeah, bringing it to ESPN, it really did have to have that shine so that visually, if you turned it on, you wouldn't immediately be scared away because it's clearly something different.
Yeah, and it definitely was. And I think it's possible to just kind of write it off. If you saw all those talent picks, you know, you'd be like, what the hell is all this stuff on the screen? And, you know, simplifying it for something like that I think is important. But when I go to watch, you know, the BlizzCon World Championship or something at the end of the year, I'm going to want to see those talent picks because I, for one, learn off of that too. So I like to see the talent picks. I like when the casters, who did a great job. I mean, the casters were great. And, you know, they had a lot that they had to work with. Time constraints, crowds, you know, the whole thing. It was, you know, it's easy to judge those people because we don't do what they do. But I'm telling you what, it had an ESPN feel, which is saying something for esports.
It did. And hopefully going forward, what the esports scene will discover is a nice balance between the information they need to have and the information they don't necessarily need to have. So we have not too much, but just enough to make the most people happy.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It was great. At the end of it all, I did pick ASU to win, so I had a total of 1,020 points total. Kristen, what did you have?
Yeah, I finished with 1,030. So it speaks to the points that you got off of that ASU victory.
I know, because in the final four, all I had was ASU, and you had a bunch of them, right?
Yeah, I had, let me check it right here.
Yeah, because, those last amount of points have got to be worth some serious, to pick the winner from the beginning is a pretty hefty point goal there.
Oh, yeah. At the end, I had 3.
Yeah, 3 of the 4. So that's a lot. It's really fun. The brackets, I'm so sad it's over. Like the 26th of December when you're like, oh man, there's so much more time until Christmas. Like I have to wait a whole nother year until the holidays roll around again. That's how I feel right now because I love the brackets. I love, how much press it gets. I love that it's on ESPN, and I just hope that in the future, and I know in the future, it's going to pick up steam and we'll be watching more stuff like this, more often.
Yep, I have no doubt, especially with how well this went. There wasn't, aside from those 2 issues, the pauses, the few pauses that they had, there was really nothing that went wrong.
Yeah, and that shows too that there's a pretty solid infrastructure there, both technically and also creatively. Those people are wanting it to roll. But 1,030 points is not enough to win the bracket. I mean, what did the guy have that won the whole bracket?
The guy that had the winning bracket mostly had 1,710 points by the end.
Oh, so that's picking everyone right, or very close to every single one right.
Correct.
Oh, that is so cool. And I bet everybody was cheering on those top people. I mean, because they won a huge prize. I think it was 10 grand.
Yep, 10
in
grand.
Actual money that they won. We're not talking Heroes gold here. We're talking real gold here, real money. So that's really cool. So the vibe around Seattle, did they have, big billboards and stuff around kind of advertising it around the tournament, or was it just kind of a hearsay thing, like you had to know it was happening?
Well, around the tournament, there were definitely billboards and signs, and it was funny because it was happening at the same time as the Mariners game, the baseball team.
Oh.
So there were 2 streams of people coming in. You had us nerds over here on the side that were really about these sports, and then you had the baseball fans coming in.
Yeah. Hey, but that's advertising, right?
It
That's,
is.
Those people are like, what the hell is going on over there? And everybody's got, their signs and their huge collegiate jerseys on and everything. It just looked so awesome. I'm so jealous, and next year I have got to try to make it. Although I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there that are happy that these pubs and these outdoor places are supporting it, because when you can't make it there, it feels so good that there are other people that, want to share in this moment with everyone else. It's just really cool. There were some really cool announcements in other games. Did you ever play the game Hand of Fate?
I did, and I thought it was a very ingenious game.
I love it. And they're doing Hand of Fate 2 now?
I saw, and I looked through the preview, so it looks like they've cleaned it up quite a bit.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest things about that game when it first came out. I think I jumped on board really early, and it had a bunch of technical difficulties. It had a bunch of weird lag issues and frame breakage and all this stuff. But I picked it up again this weekend because I saw that they were doing Hand of Fate 2, and I'm addicted to that game. I think it is so cool.
Well, it's really special because it speaks to so many different styles of gameplay. Not only do you have a deck builder, but then you go into some third-person fighting.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's great, and it's really dark. I seem to just really like super dark games like the Diablo series and, Darkest Dungeon and Sunless Sea and Hand of Fate, like those games that, it doesn't look like you're ever going to come out of the shadows in the end.
And in the end, there's a chance you won't, but I think that might be what keeps drawing us to it, because occasionally you just want an ending where no one winds up happy. It's kind of cathartic in a way, just because we surround ourselves with so many stories where heroes end up happily ever after.
Yeah, and it's cool. And you're playing BioShock 2, right? That's not the brightest game.
No, not at all. Yep, it's almost done though. So I'm about to take on the final baddie, I think, and then it's on to Doom 3. So keeping with that dark shooter.
Ooh, Doom 3. I haven't played that. You have to tell me if it's good. I've heard good things about it. And you're into the first-person shooters right now, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, I'm going through it. That's what I do on Tuesday mornings to help myself and other people wake up across the world.
Play some Doom 3, kill some demons in there.
There you go. It's the beginning of the week. Why not start it off right?
Oh, that is starting it off right for sure. So tons of cool news. Check out all the Heroes of the Storm and video game news podcasts out there, because there's some seriously cool stuff to be talking about in the video game world right now. And our show is one of them. So our show, what we do, if this is your first time listening in, we're going to take a character from the Blizzard universe and we're going to imagine what that character would be like if it was in Heroes of the Storm. Kristen's going to build a kit. I'm going to build a kit for the character, and then we just have fun, talk it through, and it is community driven. So we want all of your ideas too. We'll get into that in a little bit, but before we do that, let's forge.
Let's forge.
All right, it's Monday night. We had one extra day to just let this forge sink in and come up with the best ideas that we could. Kristen, why don't you tell everybody who we are forging this week?
Well, Jeff, this week we are forging Belial, the Lord of Lies from Diablo 3.
One of the most menacing and coolest boss fights in the Diablo universe, I think.
Yep, and you even chose it too.
I did. Like I said, I like these games where it looks like there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
And in that fight, there very well isn't a light at the end of the tunnel.
No, there's not. And it is not easy when you get up to the higher difficulties. That is not an easy battle. Before we get into the forging, Kristen, you got to give us a little bit of a background on Belial so that everyone out there knows where he comes from.
Born from one of the 7 severed heads of the ancient dragon Tithamet, Belial ruled over the realm of lies, destroying through deception all who dared enter. Originally a lesser evil, that is, born of Tithamet's lesser heads, Belial grew jealous of the power held by the primevals, Diablo, Baal, and Mephisto. It is said that when Belial saw an opportunity to take power, he tricked Asmodan into forming an alliance with him. Together, the two managed to banish the primevals from hell. Whether the two then waged war on one another for dominance or truly joined forces is still up to debate. What is known is that a war continued to rage on until the darkening of Tristram. At this point, it is known that Asmodan held the advantage, and rumors were swirling of Diablo's imminent return to hell, an event that would result in Belial's fall. Driven by whatever emotions a Lord of Hell can feel, Belial ventured to Sanctuary for the first time to prevent Diablo's return. Following the World Stone's destruction, Belial was even more set on corrupting Sanctuary, eventually taking over the body of Gareth Rao, an orphan cursed with Nephilim blood. Had this scheme worked, Belial would have overtaken Sanctuary, then used the armies to take on Hell itself. Delayed, but not defeated, Belial now set his sights on the boy king Hakan II of Kyrgyzstan. A child, Hakan was easy to manipulate and soon served as host to the Lord of Lies. His deception served to weaken the nation and spread his control. In time, a group of adventurers alongside Leah, Tyrael, and Adria discovered Belial's treachery, laid siege to his stronghold, and captured his essence within the Black Soul Stone.
Oh, I love the first line of that. The first line of your intro. It is very dark, it is a very dark and what a great story. And I was always, when I was growing up, I was always really intrigued by the whole Dante's Inferno aspect of, all of these different, rather than circles of hell in Dante's Inferno, these are actual lords of hell that embody some sort of, sin, or they embody some sort of, evil. And the Lord of Lies is such a cool idea, because, some people say that lies rule the world, right?
That's what they do, yeah.
So I'm just thinking, it's just such a cool concept for a character from the Burning Hells.
Yeah, and it fits with it too, right? Because a lot of these, and deception is considered an evil because it's not straightforward to your face. It's face the problem and defeat it. Oh, no, 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 no. If anything, it's there to sow more problems.
Oh yeah, which is exactly what happens in Diablo 3. You run into a whole bunch of problems when you're around Belial.
From the get-go, you run into problems, yeah.
From the get-go, and I did kind of see it coming when I was playing that, the king, or he's a prince, right? Is he a prince or a king?
I think he was crowned at that time because the first Hakan had died. So
That's
I
right.
think he was ruling at the time.
I could see that something was coming, because he shows up in random places. I played this again before I did my forging just because I wanted to remember what it all felt like. And, he shows up in the dungeon, or he's walking around the sewers with you, and you're just like, dude, something is not right here.
And then how many times do they throw in evil children? Like, evil children is probably one of the more favorite tropes of people.
It's definitely... it's foreshadowing, or it's definitely predictable is what I mean when you're in there, but it is so good. And the animations in that boss fight are amazing. At the beginning it just starts as a normal boss fight, and then when he hits, I think it's stage 3, the third stage of the fight, the world falls away. Like the whole world around him falls away, and he just comes out and he's massive, and it's just crazy. I got no words for it. It's just nuts.
Yeah, and of course, what's really crazy too is that he's that 3-minute timer. So you either defeat him in those 3 minutes, or you're done. You just kiss it goodbye. And I don't know how many times I've fought him and not been able to get past that timer.
Yeah, it is definitely a fast-paced, high adrenaline fight, and hopefully some of those things we can bring to Heroes of the Storm. What we try to do on this show is embody the character as much as we can, to bring in as much lore as we can into it, and have the definite feel of Belial inside of Heroes of the Storm. So the first thing that we always talk about is the role classification for the character if it was in the game. I went, believe it or not, with a melee specialist because I love forging specialists.
Who doesn't? And I mean, I'm right there with you. Melee specialist, 100% of the way.
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of ways you can go with this. I mean, at the beginning when I was building this build, I thought, he could be an assassin. He definitely could be a warrior. In some ways, you could make him support in, like a weird way. You could come up with something. So there's no wrong way to do this. It's melee specialist for me, and I think it's going to be awesome because we're going to have 2 different builds, but they're going to be super similar too, because it is Belial.
Certainly. And let's not forget too that the specialist, in my personal opinion, I've always seen them as the liars of the game. I mean, not that they lie, but they deceive the enemy team into pooling their energy somewhere else so that your other team members can then take advantage of the map. If your other team members know how to then take advantage of the map.
Right. 100% agree. That's a great, but I've never heard that. That's a great way of putting it, because you're definitely just, think of the Sergeant Hammers, the Sylvanuses, the Nazebos. You're really just doing exactly what you said. That's so cool. The next thing we'll talk about is the hero's trait, or if they have a passive ability that lands on their trait. I'll go ahead and start this one. So for my melee specialist build of Belial, I called his trait, "You can't handle the truth." Belial, the Lord of Lies, is a master of deception, so much so that it is said that his deceptions even started a civil war among the other prime evils. In the Nexus, Belial would be a fearsome foe, using his powers to manipulate mercenaries and the enemy team. Whenever he captures a mercenary camp, the minimap will randomly pick a mercenary camp to show as captured. The enemy team will see a camp activated, and it may or may not be the one that's on its way to destroy their team. Once the actual camp is discovered by the enemy team, the map will show the correct information. This will turn the enemy team on their toes and make Belial a deceitful merc specialist.
Oh, Jeff, I'm excited for this build. You and me, man, we have so many similar thoughts. That is so cool. I love that. I love how that would pull an enemy team away and force them to go somewhere else to a place that there might not even be a threat.
Right, and that is the Lord of Lies in my mind right there, because in my leagues, there's not a ton of communication. There's, the pings and things like that. So I can just see how this would play out in an actual higher ranked game where they would make decisions based off of where mercs are going, like you should, which sounds funny because in my leagues, sometimes that's not the best, or sometimes that's not the situation that happens. But yeah, I just thought that would be cool. What were you thinking for his trait?
I was thinking victory through deception. Belial can create a copy of himself that can be controlled just like his real body and comes complete with the hero's abilities and current talent choices up at the moment that this clone was created. This copy has less health but the same amount of power and only counts as a quarter kill on death.
Oh, that's very deceitful. Very deceitful. So they don't know, obviously, that this, quarter kill is walking around and they're going to go for it, but they're not going to get a full kill off of it, right?
Correct. However, if they can kill it, because this thing is extremely powerful, because there's a Lord of Hell, you don't want to have some weakling, right? Create a little murky that can't do much. They would have the power to create a fully realized copy of themselves.
Oh, too cool. I want to play that right now. Oh, and that would just devastate in the lower leagues. Oh man, that would devastate. Oh, I dig. Okay, this is going to be really, really fun. I agree. Let's talk about the mount and the mounting ability for Belial if he has one. What were you thinking his mounting ability would be?
I was thinking he'd call forth one of his deceivers. And so one of Belial's noble guards allows the Lord of Lies to ride atop its shoulders as it slithers to the Lord's next destination.
Love it. Slithers, because all of his little minion people are all the half snake people.
They're casting their little electricity bolts.
Exactly. That's funny and cool, because Belial, even in stage 2, he's a big dude in the game. He's bigger than any of the Nephilim that are battling him. So, that's funny. That's cool. I thought that he wouldn't ride a mount, but he would hover on the ground, like, spiritually, when he moves. Kind of like a Leoric ghost kind of feel.
Yeah.
You know how Leoric kind of ghosts around? I thought maybe he wouldn't be able to ride a mount, but I like your idea a lot.
Oh, but the mount, now, when you activate your Z, would you move at mount speed, but you float?
Yeah, you'd move at mount speed, but you'd always be floating. This is kind of like a Diablo kind of feel to me, where you mount and he just changes the position of the tune and then goes out faster. He's on all fours, right, instead of just walking. I feel like this would just be a faster spiritual, kind of hovering.
Definitely, and much closer to the character than riding on the shoulders of a deceiver. Much closer to his actual character.
But I want the deceiver for Murky.
Oh, could you imagine like a little piggyback ride for Murky?
So I'm voting for the mount because I want that deceiver for like Asmodan or, one of the other heroes. Oh, Stitches.
Gross.
Or one of the other heroes we forged. Like, can you imagine Lucio riding the riding the deceiver?
He'd probably do it one-handed, whipping his gun around up in the air as he rides.
That's too funny. I always go that way when we start talking about specialty mounts because I always picture the other heroes riding them. Too cool. Let's get into basic abilities. So my first basic ability is called Clawtastrophe. Using this ability causes Belial to take one of his massive claw hands and hurl it down upon his target. This move is slow, but deals massive damage. This is a directional ability and will need to be timed perfectly in order to hit its target. It can also hit multiple targets if they fall in the strike zone.
Oh, great. Okay, so what form does your Belial have?
He has the second stage Belial, but this I get why you're asking that because it's the third stage Belial, the massive one that rips away the planet, that does those huge claw strikes that basically wipe you out in Diablo if you get hit by one of them. So I wanted to bring that to to heroes in some way. And, you know, if we did another giant hero like when we forged Onyxia, you kind of have to change the entire game if you're going to have a huge, massive hero. And, you know, they're talking about Ragnaros and all these heroes. And so I wanted to make it a normal size, but to still have that huge sweeping claw that just comes down and devastates.
Gotcha. And it would be great. It would be so easy to explain away because he's a Lord of Deception. So clearly he's making the claw appear in the enemy heroes' minds, right?
Yeah. Some sort of lie, but it hurts.
All lies hurt, Jeff.
All lies,
hurt.
unless they're white lies, unless you're lying to your, you know, unless
Lying
you're hiding
to
a present.
Who, Jeff?
And lying to who? Unless you're being lied to. Yeah, so that was my idea for his Q, and it would just be, you know, massive damage. Again, I'm thinking about mercs here, so I want to have multiple targets hit. So if you're fighting the siege giants or whatever, you could hit both of them at the same time, and, you know, hopefully if you cap it, your trait will help you push with those mercs too.
Yeah. Oh, and could you imagine if he had Merc Lord on top of it?
Oh,
Gross.
adding it. What were you thinking for his first basic ability?
First one, I'm going with See No Evil. Belial can choose which victory through deception image of himself is the one shown on the mini-map. This can then be activated a second time to show the portrait on the mini-map whether in range of enemy sight or not.
Oh, messing with the mini-map.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good idea. Oh, man. That's huge. I mean, it's huge again in the leagues where people pay attention to the minimap, right?
Yes. And I mean, of course, you wouldn't want to activate it when there's clearly no sight around because obviously that's going to be the fake Belial.
Right.
However, I think it would be really, really cool to be able to be a specialist that mentally jars the enemy team so they don't even know what to believe by the end of the game.
Oh, definitely. And, you know, Nova has that feel, too, right now, you know, with the decoys and everything. That is so frustrating to me, especially because, you know, it just, and the really good Novas are the ones that act like the decoy.
Yep. And then how many wasted abilities go on that fake Nova?
Exactly. And that's the goal. And that is deceiving. And that is Belial. That is so cool. Messing with the minimap is a great idea. I have a little bit of that in my build too. Can't wait to get to that because that's a huge tool that we use, you know? And what if it started lying to you?
Exactly. You couldn't trust it.
Just like half my team sometimes. What were you thinking for his second basic ability?
For the second one, we're going with Hear No Evil. And this time, we're messing with the sound. Over the enemy's speakers, the sound of defeat echoes, causing them to hear the team hero death noise sporadically, whether there have been deaths or not.
Oh, man. Talk about distracting. How many times have I been in a game where, you know, you hear the friendly, like you hear the kill sound when you get a kill and you feel good, you know, you see it over there, it's their death timers are going, but when you hear yours, it's so disheartening.
It is, and a lot of the time that Viking players and Murky players run into issue is because the enemy or their team hears them dying all the time. And of course you're going to freak out because you're going, oh my goodness, we're only 1 minute into the game and already I've heard 3 deaths go off. What is going on?
Yeah, then the GGs start flying. Everybody's typing GG. The game's over. All this stuff. Murky's like, no, I'm supposed to be out there like this. This is supposed to be like this.
Exactly. So it further cements my belief that an oral way to mess with the enemy team would be really psychologically damaging.
Oh, yeah. A whole nother level of deception. I mean, just imagine there was a game on GameCube a long time ago, and I forget the name of the game, but what would happen is it would just mess with you, and it had the ability to like turn off your TV or turn off your console while you were playing it into the darkness. I think that's what it's called.
I've heard of this.
Yeah, and maybe it didn't do that, but it did some weird stuff with your console, and there's some computer games out there that'll show you like the blue screen of death and stuff. I love that stuff because it reaches through the screen and it basically pulls you into it on a different mental level.
It does. It really does. And again, makes you question whether you should really believe these things or not.
Too cool. Deceiving. The deceitful Belial. My second basic ability was called Web of Lies. When this ability is activated, Belial conjures a green swirling circle that weighs heavy on all that cross it. All mercenaries and enemy heroes that stand in this portal are not able to use their basic attacks and have their movement speed reduced. Once they step out of this circle, they are able to attack and move normally again. Similar to like a slowing totem kind of feel. This would be a great tool for the Belial player to use to capture mercenary camps, because we all know those Nazebos out there that use their zombie wall. They lock the people in. They're attacking, it helps you stay alive, where, like you brought up in a previous episode, it's tough for Zool to take merc camps, even though he's a specialist.
Yeah, he just doesn't really have that ability.
Nothing to slow them down or to keep them from attacking him.
Exactly, that debilitation that Sylvanas' arrows have, for instance, or Nazebo's zombie wall, and then the spiders, and then the frogs. But I like that it stops the basic attacks. Because then you wouldn't take any damage from taking mercenary camps, which would totally be awesome if the map was showing a random mercenary camp that was taken.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going like a merc build or a merc sort of specialist over on my end, because you'll see some more things that I have ideas for.
Yeah.
Oh, some great ideas so far. My E ability I called Alibi. What would a good lie be without an even better alibi? Sometimes I write this stuff and I think, what did I just write?
Go with it. You just keep going with it.
Just keep rolling. When the Belial player activates this alibi, Belial will race forward quickly, allowing him to escape through a tough situation or run down an enemy. At the end of this dash, he also strikes with one powerful blow, kind of like his Q ability, the Clawtastrophe, where he'll dash forward and, in the same kind of respect as Kerrigan, hit at the end of it.
It feels butchery.
It does.
It does. It's good. Yeah. No, butchery is good. I really love. I want to see more of that charge.
Yeah, because in the game, I mean, when I played versus Belial recently and watching the videos of him, he moves quickly in the second stage. Like, he's jumping around the little battleground that you're fighting him on, and he's moving very quickly.
Yeah.
So I felt like he needed an escape, especially if you're trying to take a merc camp and then the enemy team comes in and they're going to try to take it from you and you're all by yourself. You got to get out of there, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. Especially since he's such a merc heavy guy, he'll no doubt be trying to steal enemy camps.
Oh, for sure. What were you thinking for his E or third basic ability?
Well, yeah, I'm sure you can predict by now, speak no evil. And this one I thought would be interesting. Belial silences himself for a short period of time. After time expires, he lets loose an explosion, silencing all enemy heroes in the explosion's wake. So kind of a deceptive, oh, I'm so weak right now. I'm so weak right now. Oh my God, I'm back.
Exactly. Oh, that's crazy. So another really thing where you have to really plan it out, right? You've got to know when you can be silenced, when is a good time. You see maybe all the enemy heroes are getting low on health and you're in a big team battle and you think, I can afford to go silent right now because when I blow up, everybody's going down. They're all yelling timber.
Exactly. And then imagine running after enemy heroes. They've got, 3/4 health left and you're just like, come on, guys. I'm silenced. Come at me. But they're like, no, Belial, we know your tricks.
We know your lies and deceit. But then the sounds are going to be going off and these people are going to be pulling the hair out of their heads thinking, what am I doing? People are dying. This guy's chasing me, but he's silenced. Why is he chasing me? Boom! It's over. So he doesn't die when he explodes. He just lets out a huge explosion of energy.
Yeah.
Cool. Dig it. Some awesome basic abilities. Well, before we get into the best part, which is forging the heroics, like we say every week, we really, really want to thank everyone that's given us a 5-star rating on iTunes. It really helps the show grow. It gets us out there so other people, when they search Heroes of the Storm on iTunes, they can see our podcast among some of those amazing other Heroes of the Storm podcasts. And if you love the show and you want to support it, we do have a Patreon site that we created and some awesome Patreon goals over there. You can check it out. It's patreon.com/HeroesForge. Really cool stuff over there. Go and take a look at it because we have some awesome plans for the show once we get going a little bit. All right, everybody, it's the best part of the whole show. Let's forge the heroics.
Heroic.
All right, I'm going to start this one out with my first heroic ability called Tell Me Lies.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Is that what you're thinking of?
Exactly. I sat and I thought, how many good lie puns can I come up with? This is one of them. Well, good is subjective, I think. Anyway, Belial takes 2 massive claws, like the claws that he's coming down at you with in his first basic ability, and he shoves them into the ground, channeling his demonic energy below the battlefield. When this happens, he summons multiple webs of lies, those green spheres at the bottom of the ground that explode and disappear after a quick second. When he's channeling this heroic, he's unable to move because his massive claws are dug into the ground, but the portals do massive damage to enemies when they explode.
Oh, goodness. So it's basically a period of time where the ground is just popping?
Yeah, it's just going crazy, straight from Diablo 3 boss battle. That's exactly what he does in the 3rd stage. He takes those claws, throws them into the ground, and you are running around because you don't want to fall captive to one of those exploding puddles, basically.
Yeah, you can't stop. If you stop, you're dead.
Exactly. And I thought that would be a cool thing, because a lot of these heroics that we have, the maw, the mosh pit, they stop you from moving, where in this you gotta move or you're gone.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And of course, the people running around probably wouldn't be attacking, even auto-attacking, because even for a second,
yeah.
That's it. So how big would this be?
I'm thinking it would take up a good chunk, like like Jaina's ultimate, like that circle of an area, but it's moving, so it's not all in one circle. It's around the player that's playing Belial and his claws in the ground, just going crazy, and it's random again.
Yeah.
Cool. What were you thinking for his first heroic ability?
This one's called Guards! Belial calls forth a group of deceivers disguised as friendly minions for the other team and sets them down a path of destruction. Towers ignore them, though they remain free to deal steady amounts of damage to the towers. However, any enemy heroes they run into causes this deception to break, and they pop out of their disguise. Once out of the disguise, the deceivers are targetable by towers and stop attacking structures, now seeing enemy heroes as the priority targets.
Oh, that's really cool. And again, very deceitful. And I'm picturing the second Belial in there too at some point, the decoy, right?
Yes, and then of course the running up the stairs to Belial. I always really enjoyed that part because it's the fight through the castle before you get to the big baddie.
Right, and then he finally reveals himself as the big baddie. I mean, it is definitely textbook awesomeness.
Yeah, textbook. I mean, I'm sure they have textbooks of this because how many boss battles have they written so far?
They go, okay, we're going to create a new boss battle. Let's break open the book and see what we haven't done yet. Super cool. My second heroic ability is called Map of Mendacity. Information during a game of Heroes is paramount, but what if the information that you're using is actually a lie? When this heroic is activated, Belial uses his deception to turn the game on the enemy team. This can result of one of 4 random events to happen when it's activated. 1. All character icons on the minimap change for a short amount of time. 2. A random mercenary camp shows as activated for a short amount of time. 3. Random pings, including retreats and assistant calls, happen on the minimap. Or 4. All team chat for the enemy is turned into useless letters for a short amount of time.
Dude, that's amazing.
So you don't really know because there's 4 random things that can happen, so you don't know which one is happening when he activates it.
And what's cool too is it's kind of balanced in power, right? Because would you know which one is chosen for the other team?
I don't know. I don't know how you would do that. Maybe it would pop up on your screen and like say, Belial's deception has turned the enemy's chat on them or something, like the enemy's unable to communicate or whatever it would say in the lore of the game, not chat, obviously.
Well, yeah,
But,
yeah, just like a giant Comic Sans
yeah.
wall of text coming at you.
Exactly. Or like Belial is, deceiving the enemy team, and then you'd start seeing like retreat pings, or the boss would activate and all the heroes would be down in the bottom lane and they'd be like, what is going on? How did they get the boss? And maybe they would retreat, or it would just really mess things up.
Yeah, I love the randomness of it too, but like that is your MO. You love the random generation.
I know.
And it's great too because it would really keep the game fresh. So while you would have some control over what's going on, you wouldn't have total control, which would then allow you to keep learning how to adapt to different situations.
Yeah, and just imagine if you're looking at the minimap, if you're paying attention to it, and all of a sudden the icons on the map are showing that Brightwing is in the middle lane all alone, but in reality it's, Stitches or whoever, or it's Belial even in the middle of the minimap, and they're saying, they're pinging, we have to take this hero out, but in reality you can't in the same way, so it would just throw off your whole strategy.
Yeah, I like it. It's
what
dirty.
Were you thinking for his second heroic?
This one, 2 peas in a pod, you can't handle the truth. And I
The
swear
pun
this
book.
was not discussed before, listeners.
No, it was not.
Not even a little. Belial's true form is unleashed. Erupting from a fixed location in the ground, enemy heroes are now stuck in a designated area around Belial.
Whoa.
Belial gains 1 charge of his poison breath attack and 1 meteor strike before he returns to normal. Enemies may attack him during this time. Because they are attacking an illusion, however, their hits don't necessarily connect with Belial. If they can't kill the monstrosity before time is up, Belial returns to normal with only 5% of the damage taken from his health pool. 5% of the damage dealt taken from his health pool. If they kill the monstrosity, Belial dies.
Oh, I need it. Kristen, I need that in the game right now.
I'm sorry, I'm not a programmer, Jeff. I'm not even an artist. I can draw a little grumpy sketch.
You're an artist
of
with
Belial.
words. You're an artist with words. That looks so... There it is.
Grumpy
For our
Belial.
audio-only listeners, check out the VOD. There it is. Because that is the coolest part, like we talked about before, in the boss fight when the world falls away. So I have a couple of questions. How does it affect the friendly heroes? Are they able to leave this area of the monstrosity, or are they stuck in this area too?
They're able to leave. In fact, I would imagine it would kind of push them out just so a friendly unit doesn't get stuck in it.
So cool. And it would have an awesome animation, I'm sure. Oh, that is so cool. So, okay, they got to take out the monstrosity before it turns back to Belial, or Belial uses both of the charges of flame breath, or his type of flame breath, and meteor strike.
Correct, but he only gets 1 of each, and these can be activated whenever he wants, too. So he can wait for the right time. And also, it's really nice because he would also need to keep in mind how many heroes he wants stuck against him and which heroes he would want stuck against him. Because you don't want the whole team to clearly be able to take you out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, that is so cool. I need that in the game. That wins best ability right there for this forging, for sure, because... that's directly from Diablo 3. That has the exact feel as it does in Diablo 3, where you just don't know what to do. He's just massive. He's the biggest boss in that game. And, Diablo at the end of the game is just, a big guy. But Belial is massive, right?
Yeah, he's like, in the 3rd act, those those demon ladders that come
Yeah.
up. They hook their little claws on the side and then vomit up demons.
Yeah.
He's like one of those, except cooler and even bigger.
Oh, flame breath and meteor strikes. So cool. Some great heroics. Now is the really fun part where we get to talk about specialty skins. What specialty skin we would want for Belial if he was in Heroes of the Storm. We kind of go off the wall here, and mine definitely is, because my specialty skin is called the Presidential Candidate Belial. I am not a crook.
Well, topical here. You got something to say about presidential candidates?
No, other than, sometimes there's lies and deceit involved in all of this. So I just thought, how great would it be if there was some sort of, like extreme cartoonish way of making Belial like that.
I love it. And could you imagine when he uses his claws there for the tell me lies? It plays a
the William Tell overture every time he mounts.
Yeah.
I am not a crook.
So would he have a Nixon look then?
Maybe, or I'm picturing he's got like American flags, but instead of American flags, they're like Nexus flags that he's like waving around instead of like the claws or whatever.
Yeah.
Just a silly idea I had. What were you thinking for a specialty skin?
I'm going with a praying mantis because of those claws.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so great. And praying mantises, they're horrifying. They eat their prey alive. So I figured it was a fitting because he likes to deceive people until they're too deep into the lie to pull out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then you could somehow incorporate like a Venus flytrap into it some way.
Yes.
Maybe his heroic, the last one where he transforms into monstrosity, he is a Venus flytrap.
That would be crazy. Where you're slowly digested. And oh, God.
Slowly digested. And like the meteor strike is like an acid spray or something like that. That'd be really cool. Silly stuff. But I mean, who doesn't want to see a man-eating plant in Heroes of the Storm?
Yeah, I mean, we all love garden terror.
That's right. We all love garden terror.
Let's have a competition to see who can say that the most sarcastically.
We probably would run into a tie. I think the whole world feels the same way that we do.
I would agree.
Oh, some awesome stuff. I think we can definitely say that Belial has been forged.
HeroesForge.
Two completely different melee specialist builds that we had going on here. What fun this has been. Over on my side, we've got Belial that's taking merc camps, kind of throwing off people with the mini-map, has a couple of really, really different types of heroics which are playing with the mini-map, and then one, of course, where he's going out and he's just got his massive claws that he shoves into the ground. And great minds think alike, because over on Kristen's build, we've got some massive claws that are getting dug into the ground, huge monstrosities that are coming out, and of course the awesome decoy, because he is a master of deceit. So, Kristen, I want Belial in the game, for sure.
Yeah, I don't... it's so hard to say because I want so many heroes in the game. But Belial, done well with the Blizzard team, just has so much potential to really alter the gameplay, as your build and then my build showed. Like, clearly we're throwing in mechanics that really aren't there yet.
Yeah, and there's so many mechanics that they haven't implemented yet, which makes me so excited for the game because it can go so many different directions. And even thinking about this as we're talking about it now, remember what I did with when we forged Onyxia, where we kind of had a boss mode where 5 people play one hero, which would be crazy, right? Maybe not even possible, but still something fun to think about. What if Belial was part of that raid mode where somehow we got it to where 5 people were playing Belial? I mean, there's 1,000 ways you can go with it.
Certainly, but if we go with your Onyxia idea, we could totally do it with Belial because he's got his deceivers, just like Onyxia has her whelplings. And I don't know how many deceivers you fight by the time you finally get to Belial, but it's enough to warrant a side-by-side comparison.
Oh, for sure. And imagine if all those deceivers were like mages, and they're all out there. Maybe not. Maybe all of the deceivers, they're all different role classifications. Like there are 4 deceivers and Belial, and the 4 deceivers are a tank, a specialist, a support, and then Belial would be the tank. I mean, there's a ton of really cool stuff that you could definitely do with that.
Yes, and what would really be cool, though, I think, could you imagine if you had a 5-man hero, right, in this crazy raid dungeon world that heroes should do someday, but you control the different parts of Belial. So someone controls when to do the breath, someone controls when to do the talons in the ground. I mean, it would be Mighty Morphin Power Rangers all over again.
Yeah, it'd be like Voltron or something.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to control a certain part, and that would be really hard to coordinate, especially without any sort of team speak like we have it right now. I mean, it'd be really, really difficult.
It'd either be the beginning of the explosion of heroes or the death of it.
Yeah, I have to agree there. I think it could be the explosion, though, so you never know. I mean, you never know. Some of our ideas are pretty awesome.
I'd say all of them are pretty awesome.
Me too. I have to agree. So if you want to hear more of our ideas of the things that we're talking about, maybe you want to see that Onyxia build that we've been talking about, or check out the other Diablo characters we forged for Heroes of the Storm, you can check it out on our website, which is HeroesForge.club. Over there we post every episode that we've done. I can't believe we've done 15 awesome episodes. Check them out over there. You can also find us on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating on iTunes if you enjoyed the show. It really helps the show grow. Again, thank you to everyone that has done that. We really, really appreciate it. Also, follow us over on Twitter at Forge Heroes. Over on Twitter, every Thursday or Friday, we announce the hero that we'll be forging that coming week, so you get a little insight. And also, you can follow along with some Heroes of the Storm news that we retweet out there, and some cool things that are happening in the actual forgings, new characters that are getting released, and things like that for the actual game. Make sure you like us on YouTube over at youtube.com/HeroesForge. That's where we post all the videos that we do of our live stream, and our live stream is recorded every Sunday night at 7 o'clock Pacific on twitch.tv/HeroesForge. That's all one word, twitch.tv/HeroesForge. And if you like the show and you'd like to support us, there's an awesome way that you can do that. Again, it's our Patreon site at patreon.com/HeroesForge. And again, some of the goals over there are just worth looking at and checking out. Head on over there and check it out. Kristen, where can people find you in the interwebs?
People can find me over at Dream Destroyer, DRMDESTRYR, over at Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. And of course, my health and fitness blog, rippedforblizzcon.com. .weebly.com.
Don't forget the Weebly, people. Don't forget the Weebly. I know, and Ripped for BlizzCon. I mean, after spending the whole weekend watching Heroes of the Storm at a pub, it's time to go and raid Ripped for BlizzCon.
Did you enjoy some of that delicious pub food?
Yes, I did. I had a really good fish and chips. I mean, it doesn't get more pub food than that, really. Fish and chips, or, we had some wings, and we got to enjoy some really good gaming. And I'm just sad because it feels like the day after Christmas.
It does. But the important thing is that you enjoyed every moment of it. And I certainly wasn't clean eating this weekend. I had a burger at this restaurant. It was a pretzel bun. The burger was probably an inch thick. Tomato, lettuce, mayonnaise, some sort of sweet sauce, and then lots of alcohol.
Yeah, that's part of the fun is, everything in moderation.
Exactly.
So cool. All right, we're going to call the show there. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Tell all of your friends about it. Tell everybody to come and join the live stream. We love talking to the chat and chat hangout. We will chat with you after we come back. Thanks again, and we'll catch you all in the real world.